Last week was rather special for Nijisanji as they launched the 3D debuts of the two remaining members of their second generation of English Vtubers. While usually 3D debuts for a major Vtuber company would be a very exciting event for the community, last week's 3D debut has drawn additional interest for another reason. Many have been interested in how viewership and revenue for Nijisanji's events will be affected by recent controversies, and how they would compare to such events from last year. Let's look through some of the data and see if we can pull out anything interesting. I'll start first by looking at the revenue for donations during each of the 3D debuts. Plotted here are the revenues for each debut in US dollars, with the revenue being split into donations made in Japanese yen in red, and all other donations in blue. From this plot, two things are very apparent. First, donations from non-yen currency had dramatically decreased from last year. Both Petra and Rosemi received nearly half of Finana's non-Japanese donations, who in turn had the lowest amount of donations from the first generation. Next, the revenue has shifted towards yen donations, going from 10% at most last year to over 20% this year. So, why have so many of the donations shifted towards yen? The most obvious possibility is that the demographics of the viewership have shifted towards Japanese viewers. Let's see if this is the case. Unfortunately, demographic viewership data isn't publicly available, and it's unlikely Nijisanji will be giving us access to their analytics anytime soon. Because of this, I've improvised a simple method to estimate this data based on publicly available chat messages left during this live stream. Here's how I did it. First, I used a language identification library to identify all Japanese messages left during the live stream. From this, I identified every individual that left at least one Japanese message as being from the JP audience. Because many JP viewers leave chat messages with emojis or use English slang, this is a more accurate method than just looking at the proportion of JP chat messages. To test the accuracy of this method, I benchmarked by running on Nijisanji's Volt Action 3D debuts from last year. Because Volt Action streams in Japanese, I expect their audience to be nearly 100% JP. My method identified 88% of individuals in chat as JP, so I'd estimate my approach undercounts JP audience members by around 10 to 15%. Here's my estimates of the demographics of chat participants. As we can see, the JP audience percentage appears to have more than doubled between Lazarlights and Obsidious 3D debuts. However, this isn't just due to an increase in JP audience members, but rather also due to a massive decrease in the primarily English-speaking non-JP audience. The non-JP audience has dropped by nearly a factor of 3 since last year. One interesting thing we can do with this data is to estimate how much each JP versus non-JP audience members contributes to the stream revenue. Here, I've divided the revenues in each currency type between the chat participant counts for each demographic. As you can see, JP audience members contribute substantially more per person in terms of donations to the stream, anywhere from 2 to 4 times more. To see if this was just unique to JP audience members that watch EN VTubers, I also calculated this for Volt Action as well, and discovered that Volt Action made over $4 per JP audience member. This suggests that JP audiences tend to donate more on average compared to their non-JP counterparts. This is a rather interesting finding, as it suggests that there might be benefits in targeting the Japanese audience for such events. Getting back to the demographic split, let's try and find out why there has been such a decrease in the non-JP audience. There are several hypotheses that we can put forward, and I've listed a few of the most likely ones here. The first possibility is that fan behaviors have changed. For example, fans might no longer be interested in big events such as 3D debuts, instead being only interested in regular streams. Next, the size of the fan base may have decreased, leaving a smaller pool of interested audience members to attend the 3D debuts. Finally, the 3D debuts may no longer be attracting interest outside the fan base due to factors such as a lack of marketing. Let's first start by looking at fan behavior. Here, I've identified chat participants for each VTuber from their last 100 streams and looked at how many of them participate in the 3D debut of that VTuber. There doesn't appear to be any dramatic change between last year and this year, with fanbase participation being around 8 to 10%. This suggests that the debuts still hold the same degree of appeal to fans of the VTubers, and that this is not responsible for the viewership decrease. If the fanbase participation has not changed, what about the fanbase itself? Let's look at how many individuals we can identify in the last 100 streams for each VTuber. As we can see, identified audience members nearly halved between Lazarlight and Obsidian. With fan participation being unchanged, this halving in audience size would result in lower debut attendance. Reduction in fanbase size thus is a likely contributing factor to overall reduced attendance of the 3D debuts. What about individuals outside the fanbase? For individuals that cannot be traced back to the last 100 streams, we see again that there appears to be a reduction in viewership. Petra and Rosemi both had significantly less non-fans show up compared to Alira and Fanana. Based on this, it appears that reduction in interest outside their fanbase also contributed to a decrease in viewership. Putting all of these findings together, this data suggests that reduction in audience size at the 3D debuts are both due to shrinking fanbase sizes and a reduction in attendance of people outside the fanbase. The reduction in audience outside the fanbase could be due to a variety of factors. For example, a reduction in marketing of the event resulting in less people hearing about it, or other factors such as a reduction in the interest in the company due to controversies, or a change in interest in the general VTuber market. In addition, the data perhaps suggests that Nijisanji EN's VTubers might want to consider targeting the JP audience more. With JP audience members donating more on average, scheduling your debut time to engage more JP audience members might result in a boost in revenue for 3D debuts. Nijisanji EN members who are both bilingual and have gone their way to court the Japanese audience are likely to see better returns on their 3D debuts going forwards.